I'm Caterina. I'm going to be proposing Matteo for the role of treasurer. So, I have an interesting story about Matteo. So whilst I was close to waking up for an early morning seminar this morning, Matteo was waking up at 7 AM alone and lost in Newcastle after a loose Hatfield football social. However, despite these rogue tendencies, he attended every single one of our lectures today, a better turnout than me, and continues to achieve far better grades in all our assessments. He is one of the most reliable people I know, never late for a single essay deadline, never failing to achieve. Matteo is also incredibly precise, whether it be the meticulous planning of his proposal to me or the detailed ability with which he works out maths calculations and economic methods. Matteo would truly give 100% to the role of treasurer. Therefore, I really do believe that there is no one more suited to the role of JCR treasurer, and no one I would trust more with managing Hatfield's budget efficiently and effectively. Matteo is reliable, smart, and hard-working, and a vote for Matteo is truly a vote not wasted. Thank you.
And Fabian's proposal, please.
What do we look for in a college treasurer? There are certain qualities that all exec members must possess. A passion for the college, being honest, open, approachable, a team player. But certain skills and qualities I believe are essential for the treasurer specifically. You may have already noticed, but if you haven't, Fabian is German, and he plays up to the stereotype perfectly. He is the most efficient, hard-working and dedicated person I know in college. Not a single second of Fabian's day is wasted. And this ruthless efficiency and eye for detail is ideal for the role of treasurer. Experience is absolutely essential in this role. Most recently, his role as junior treasurer means that he already knows the ins and outs of the complex workings of JCR accounts. He already knows the standing orders and how payments are made. In addition, he was treasurer for Hatfield sessions, planning budgets and payments, and was the treasurer for several debating conferences and for school committees, all before he even came to Durham. Fabian's excellent organisation means we can be safe in the knowledge that our money is not being mishandled. He is an extremely reliable individual who will do everything possible to make sure the college accounts run smoothly and will work with all societies and clubs to make sure that funding is fairly distributed and appropriately allocated. But also, possibly most importantly, Fabian is a good human guy who, whilst taking his role seriously, can be relied upon to being in the bar after formals or on a night out and enjoy a few pints with friends. He is approachable, friendly, easygoing and understanding. All qualities that are needed for a treasurer. Fabian has unparalleled experience that no other candidate can match. Excellent efficiency and a work ethic that means he will never be distracted from giving his all to the JCR. He isn't going to reinvent the wheel, but if you want a treasurer that's experienced, hard-working, efficient, approachable and honest, then vote for Fabian, the treasurer.
So the exec currently receive free formal food and wine. Is this justified? That'd be your vote.
Okay, so I think it's indeed justified that the exec gets free formal food and wine. The exec's dedicating a lot to this college. They're making sure that so many gorgeous events are put on for all members. They're, after all, making sure that formals also are so gorgeous for all members. And I think, as a reward for all their work that they're doing, the food and the wine for formals is an accurate counterpart to this, and therefore it should be capped as it is at the moment.
Well, before I start, I'd like to quickly apologise for my appearance tonight. It's quite a while without you. To respond to a question on there, I'd have to agree with Fabian. I think that the exec really invest an enormous amount of time into the jobs that they do. And if we look at other colleges as well, we see that senior men are often paid for what they do for the college, considering it's such an amount of work that they put in. So I'd have to say that I think it's completely justified that we would receive free food and wine.
How would you create the budget for the next financial year? What steps would you take to make sure the budget is both workable and fair to the JCR members?
I think one of my first steps would be to consult other exec members in this respect, to collaborate and make sure that all aspects of college are being properly addressed. I would also try to make sure that it's done in an efficient manner that both reflects how we did this year and make strides to continue to improve for the following years. I'd make a strong case for keeping quite an extensive contingency fund as well, as I think it's important to keep to have it.
Okay, so I would first of all look at the recent budget and see what we've done before, where can we start it from, and then I would have a look at, so we've two main categories there, we have societies and we have activities, and for those ones I would consult the relevant people, the organisations and the execs of them and see what things are going to be coming up, what's going on, where do we need what amount of money, and sit together with other members of the exec and plan the budget further, and then we're making sure that the money is put efficiently into those projects that really need in the next year. And additionally, I agree with Matteo, contingency fund is an important point that should be considered as well.
So kind of following on from this, the college levy is currently set at £318. Do you think this is a good amount? How would you go about setting the levy for next year?
Okay, so I'm aware that in comparison to other colleges, Durham is quite high what we have at Hatfield, but still I think that it is in a way justified for those facilities that we get, for instance, that we get from the gym that we now have, Conry, stuff like that, and also all the events that we put on. So what I would do is I would have a look at how much money do we need. So, I mean, it will depend on how many people are coming and how many people are going to pay the levies actually, and then I'm calculating how much of that we need. I would actually think that we should not increase that massively anymore, but also I would not seek to lower them really. So I think it's a good amount at the moment.
For me, it was Ollie did a great job in freezing the levy this year, and I think that I would continue to try and do that. It's great that you don't have to pay the full extent of the levy as an undergrad coming in as your first year. You can choose to opt out of some aspects of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I want to keep it as opposed to try and lower it. Yeah, I think so. I will try and continue to keep it at a steady level.
The JCR currently has cash reserves equal to 1/3 of its annual turnover. What steps, if any, would you take to address this? You may wish to make reference to the DSO framework. Matteo.
The DSO framework that I read extensively, I think that, sorry, you said that we have a reserve?
So the JCR currently has cash reserves equal to 1/3 of its annual turnover. What steps, if any, would you take to address this?
I think it states in the DSO framework that there's a certain cap on the amount of money that you can keep in college, and I think I just want to try and minimise this third and try and reduce it, whether that's by investing into new aspects of college or investing into the university. I think that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, the DSO framework basically says that we are allowed to have some cash out, but we shouldn't have it in such an excessive way, and we should try to minimise it as much as possible. And as I understand the question, I would seek to get more and more payments moved online so that we can reduce the amount of cash that we're actually holding here sufficiently. This is one of the core things that I want to be working on in the next year, really.
After setting the annual budget in May, a member of the exec approaches you saying that they do not feel they've got enough money in their budget to perform their role to a high standard. How would you resolve this?
So first of all, I would have a very intensive talk with that person. This person's trying to show me exactly why this is insufficient, what important things there are that are not sufficiently funded for their budget, and then if I agree with that, I would sit down with the entire exec together and tell them exactly what the situation is, come up with my own suggestion, and discuss whether we can make any changes further on so that we can get this funded if all of us approve that this is really something that needs funding. So I think this is how we should go about it.
I have to agree with Fabian again in this case. I'd have an extensive talk with the person that brought the issue up, and I'd try to address whatever problem they may have. I think it would come down to treating the budget efficiently and making sure that it was allocated to the right places, although it is eventually going to be the Treasurer's decision in what to invest in. So I think that person would have to have a very valid reason for why the budget would have to be allocated in a different manner.
What do you think about the JCR subsidising events such as lining with a ball to make tickets cheaper or to make the event more extravagant?
Well, I think that it's a great thing, and having come from a different country and seeing England and seeing all of these fantastic events that we have at university, I was talking to my mum that came to visit, and she said, I've never seen anything like this. It's impressive that we have such elaborate and amazing student events like Line with the Ball and formals every week. So I definitely would continue to do what we're doing and subsidise them.
As far as I understand, we are trying not to subsidise too much, and here we're trying to generate sufficient revenue from the ticket sales, and I think we should continue to do so, and primarily focus on getting the money that we need for it from the interest, really. But I completely agree that if there is anything that is really needed and that really we all agree could make this event a lot better for college and for all people attending, and if we have sufficient funds for that, then why not? Why not shouldn't we subsidise a bit of it that I think is fair, but it should be capped with caution.
Any questions on the floor? Any things over any more questions? Oh, yeah.
So outside of the exec, like everyday students don't have as much say in like other JCRs and like how the money is spent. Do you like ever envisage, I don't know, opening like a consultation process, like opening bits for the JCR outside of like clubs and societies to see what money could be spent on in the future?
May I quickly ask, do I understand the question correctly as like, would I be open to single people approaching me, like?
Well, I guess the main question is like, how would you like include the JCR more in like the decision-making process of where funds are allocated, rather than like just the 10 of us? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I think the idea is here that first of all, it's not only the execs to decide, but it's also different clubs and different societies deciding where the money is spent. So this is crucially an important part, and all the members that are in those clubs and societies do certainly have their say in what those societies spend. But then again, I would seek to have some treasurer hours, where I'm in college, where I'm also what I would offer to be approachable for single individual people coming to me, or like small groups of people coming to me telling me like, oh, this is something that you could look at and I could think about it and bring it to the exec. I think that could be a way of involving more of the ideas of the same students.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I think it's one of the most important things for a treasurer to be transparent in the way that they allocate funds, especially considering the sheer amount of money that we have in the budget. It's great. It would be great to incentivise people to come and talk to the treasurer and to make questions or even make suggestions as to how we could allocate things differently. And yeah, it all comes under our role to actually exemplify what we're doing and keep our transactions transparent.
A situation question. You receive an email from a member of the college management or another common room, effectively invoicing you for costs to do a new piece of equipment or a new facility which they are buying on behalf of all the college. It's quite a significant amount, and you don't think actually the JCR should be, it's not something which the JCR should be paying for, which should be coming out of other funds. However, you're perhaps resistant. The person who's invoiced you is quite adamant that this is something the JCR should be paying towards. So what would be your immediate steps after that with resolving this issue?
I think the most important thing would be to have some form of contact with that person, try and address why they believe the JCR specifically should be responsible for paying for what they need. Ultimately, I think I did read in the DSO framework actually that if we do buy something or if we do have some sort of expenditure, that if we don't believe it is suitable or if it's not up to the standard to which we bought it, then we have it within our ability to not pay for that. And I think this sort of comes under that umbrella in the sense that I would probably not pay it if I truly believed it wasn't worth it.
First of all, consultation with that person, of course. Then, if there's person still insists on that position, first person contact for me, senior man, discussing this issue because we're kind of both in that position. Then, if we feel that we shouldn't pay this and we cannot pay this at all, we've got to seek for other opportunities probably within the college. So, bring this to the College Finance Council, talk to the relevant College Finance officers or the Hatfield Trust, see if we can make anything there. I think that would be the next step to take. To go to the higher level within the college level, to which we are also after all responsible.
Yeah, any more questions for Treasurer? Yep, Serena.
What is VAT? How does it affect JCR budget?
Okay. As a non-British person, I'm going to try my best in this. So, VAT is tax. So, the standard VAT is 20%. There is on some goods and items, there is 5% VAT, and some are exempt from VAT. And there are. And we do have to pay or take VAT on certain things. For instance, for sessions when we're selling tickets here, when we're selling drinks, we have to take VAT. But also, we can reclaim VAT for purchases that we make after all, because we are an organisation under Durham University, which is charity, and this is how we go about this.
I think Fabian answered your question quite well there, but I would just reiterate that it's a percentage of tax paid on some transactions that we can either reclaim or that we have to pay to the government. I think as a treasurer, it's extremely important to know exactly what transactions VAT needs to be paid on and so on, so that would come under the role, and would be one of the things I'd be learning as soon as possible.
Yeah, there was a question up there. Yeah.
According to the DSO framework, the DSO can allocate surplus funds to the university for investment. Would you do this and why?
So would you allocate surplus funds to the
The university for
to the university for investment?
I wouldn't. I'd keep the funds and either put them into contingency or reinvest them into next year's JCR budget, but I would not reinvest them into the university, because I think it's coming from the students within Hatfield. I think it's important to make sure that the budget runs smoothly into next year as well.
Yeah, I'm being very straightforward with you here. Most of the money that we take in comes from the students or from within Hatfield, and only a small amount, like £12,000, comes from actually from the university. Hence, as most money comes from Hatfield and from the students, it should be invested for Hatfield and the students, and not necessarily for the university. So put it into contingency, or rather make some events great or even greater instead of putting it to the university. That's a clear statement for Hatfield, I think.
Yeah,
Sorry. With the renovation objectives, I was just wondering what strategy you'd be looking to implement to make sure that generalist university could be putting assets on the budget.
So what strategy would you